The iconic orange colour of a carrot is unmistakable. However, did you know that orange carrots are actually a human invention? Thousands of years ago, the first known carrots were actually white. Thanks to selective breeding, a type of genetic engineering that literally allows us to handpick the best nature has to offer, we have the modern orange carrot. Selective breeding is a method that humans use to breed animals and plants that have favourable physical characteristics, or phenotypic traits, for human purposes. So, how do we get these traits? Humans control sex amongst male and female plants and animals in order to ensure certain genes are passed on and expressed in future offspring. This process of genetic engineering has been done throughout history, providing humans with the juiciest beef, disease-resistant plants, and the strongest horses. So, what exactly happens on a genetic level in selective breeding? To know that, we've got to zoom into an organism's cells. The physical characteristics of an animal are determined by the genetic makeup, which, in selective breeding, we, the humans, are choosing. We choose a favourable allele, a specific variation of a genetic trait, to breed in the offspring. In order for these traits to appear, we've got to express its genes. For example, take the Belgian blue cow, originally a specialty cow breed. They were valued for their ability to produce a sizable amount of milk and beef. After many generations of selective breeding, however, a mutation occurred in the gene that coded for myostatin, a protein which stops muscle development in an organism. Myostatin-mutated cows had very fast muscle growth with little fat retention, resulting in very lean, desirable meat. Thus, the mutation was favoured in Belgian blue cattle. Their milking ability was then ignored, and they became a steak-centric cattle. However, selective breeding at a genetic level isn't that simple. There are various processes called genetic mechanisms, which influence the expression of genes and thus phenotypes in a selectively bred organism, thanks to the complexity of genomes. Take pleiotropy, for example, a mechanism where one gene is responsible for affecting more than one physical trait. This can be observed through animal domestication. Geneticist Dmitry Belyaev unknowingly observed pleiotropy in his experiments on the domestication of dogs from their closest ancestors, the silver fox. He thought, was there a gene that transformed these wild foxes into man's best friend? Belyaev's hypothesis was, breeding less fearful and less aggressive foxes will yield a litter of friendly, domesticated foxes. However, as a result of his experiments, the selectively bred tame foxes weren't only friendlier, their pointy ears flopped down, straight tails curled up, and their teeth and bones became smaller, resembling physically and behaviorally the modern domestic dog. Belyaev hadn't selected for these traits. In reality, on a genetic level, the expression of neural crest cell genes caused this shift. These cells aid the development of a fox's adrenal glands, aka the source of its fight or flight responses. The production of these cells in domesticated foxes are stunted, resulting in friendlier dog-like behavior. In addition, these genes also control expression of various physical characteristics in wild foxes. Thus is the result of pleiotropy in selective breeding or domestication. With the world of selective breeding becoming ever more advanced, there is inevitably a need to deal with its ethics. Selective breeding can involve manipulating animals for human commercial gain at the cost of their welfare. For example, the broiler chicken is selectively bred to have no feathers. With energy to spare, these chickens fatten rapidly, too fast for their legs, which restricts their ability to walk. There are also those that argue selective breeding is interfering with nature, the act of playing God. There are unforeseeable consequences in mass selectively breeding organisms. Intensive selection leads to loss in genetic diversity in a species, which may disadvantage its survival rate when faced with sudden changes in the environment, such as new diseases. However, not all instances of selective breeding are commercial. Using selective breeding, the Australian government's marine agency are trying to develop hybrid coral that are able to cope with the rising ocean temperatures of the Great Barrier Reef. Here, selective breeding is done to benefit the larger global environment. Selective breeding is a genetic engineering process that has really shaped our human world today, from the food we eat, the animals we keep, and the environment we live in, and will definitely continue to give us food for thought. For reflection, this is what our group member Ed thinks. The topic that my colleagues and I chose was selective breeding, which is a type of genetic engineering. During the process of research, I could find many examples on that topic, but it was hard to find the exact mechanisms behind it, and it took a lot of time to find a useful mechanism that could be explained accurately and simply, since our audience is a high school class. Nowadays, selective breeding penetrates many aspects of our lives, especially when it comes to nutrients like crops of beef or milk, or medicine, such as for opium for anesthetics. My role was to do a research on mechanisms behind selective breeding, edit the script, and facilitate group meetings and activities. Next, we have Jenny. In this assignment, I cooperated with 3 other students, which, in my opinion, went very well. All group members participated in the discussion of which topic to choose, the content of the video, and in the structuring of it. During the research, I learned a lot about an interesting and important topic in genetics, selective breeding. All of us had a responsibility for one part each. My part was the ethics and barriers of selective breeding. I read several articles about it to find out different points of view, and then wrote up my research. I felt that everyone made an honest effort in their part. I think this kind of learning is new and different from what I am used to. It challenged me in my cooperation skills and increased my ability to research and analyze information. I also learned about how to present the information to a wider audience. Next, we have Kian Wei. For this assignment, I am satisfied with how the content flows in the video and the essential experience gained in watching it. The main challenge for me is to synchronize the timing of all the topics in the video with the speech of the narrator, and it took me quite a while to rectify this issue. Selective breeding is a fundamental topic in biology, and since our target audience are high school kids, this video will allow them to understand why selective breeding plays a key role in everyday life. My role for this project is making the animation of the video, editing, and also managing the timing for each segment. And finally, we have myself, Vivian. My job for the assignment was to collate the research and information given to me by my team members, write it up in a script, and then record it. My team members brought me extensive amounts of research, and I found it most challenging picking and choosing content to add into the script that will not only make it interesting and informative, but generate a nice flow and stay under the time limit. My group members were hardworking and diligent, so I had a great time doing this project with them. The tone of the script, its content, and how I spoke it was also challenging to balance, since the video was aimed at informing high school students about selective breeding. It needed to be educational but not patronizing. This was important to how our information was presented.